how you feeling? Cause I'm about to get into my feelings. How you feeling? How you feel right now? Oh, I've been so down and under pressure. I'm way too fine to be distressed, yeah. Oh, I'm not the girl I was or used to be.
No way.
Bitch, I might be better. Turn up the music.
Hello, live community, Confidant community. It's Bad Bitch O'Clock. Did you know? It's about damn time. Hello, live community, Confidant community. It's about damn time. I'm telling you, this lady is just phenomenal. She is so phenomenal. And honestly, live Confidant community, I'm not a huge Lizzo fan. Let's say I'm a newly converted Lizzo fan. I feel like she's not of our generation, for those of you who know who I'm talking about. So I've never really listened all that closely to her lyrics. My nieces, cousins kind of fill me in on who Lizzo is. And I'm like, that's lovely. That's for you guys, not me. So anyway, I wanted to, because I heard the song. I've heard the song a bunch of times, but never really listened to it. And because I loved that chorus, it's about damn time, because it's very timely for what we're going to talk about today. I thought, let me bring Lizzo out. So I actually watched the video and I actually listened to the lyrics. And I have to tell you, I'm a convert now. I'm like all in with Lizzo. She is a goddess. She deserves to be brought out for this live. I just love everything she stands for. She's really aligned with what I stand for, and just watching the video and how she just proudly strutted her stuff. And it's all about feeling good about who you are and where you're at, and no shame, no blame. She's just like, I'm embracing all of this. You need to take on all of this, and you need to be worth my time. And I love everything about what she stands for. Who are some Lizzo fans out there? If you're a Lizzo fan, please post in the chat. I'm a newly converted Lizzo fan, but definitely for those of you who've been on the bandwagon longer than me, feel free to post in the chat. It's about damn time, Confidant community, isn't it? It's Women's Month, and we're talking about getting your finances together, feeling good about your finances. How many of you out there feel good about your finances right now? It's about damn time. If you don't, you need to tune in to this live, because we have a really special live for you today. We have Jody Euloth from our team. We wanted to bring Jody out. She's been here jamming with me. We're getting into Lizzo. And, I wanted her to just talk a little bit about what some of our clients who are new to the practice, what gets them to say to themselves, it's about damn time. It's time to take a closer look at my finances and really live with that intention that they've been thinking about. And I find that, since COVID, a lot of people have had that time. I know in my own life, I've had that time to reflect and just take a closer look at my life and look at what I want to change. And then I made those changes. And I think that's not uncommon. If you're someone who made a change since, going through COVID, I'd love for you to post in the chat. Yes, I'm living, a life closer to what I want. I'm living with more intention since COVID. We'd love to hear from you. And if you aren't, again, we're never here to blame. We want to support, kind of what's getting in the way of you living the life that you want, that life that you're living with intention. So anyway, I'm super excited. Jody, welcome. Thank you for jamming with me. And here I picked Lizzo because I was thinking it was closer to your generation than mine. And you're like, I don't know. Such a disappointment.
Well, thanks, Jackie, for having me. I think it was a great song. I love Lizzo and what she does. I am a newly converted fan, but I think, the song that you chose was very timely for what we're going to chat about today.
Yeah. I think it's about damn time. I think a lot of people have been feeling that way. And I mentioned COVID because people made a lot of decisions over COVID. And one of my questions for you we'll get into is kind of maybe some of the trends you've seen with our clients since COVID, but we'll talk more about that. But, I wanted to talk a little bit about, the fact that it's Women's Month and our jam, my jam, our team's jam is all about female financial empowerment. I say this for, take out the mug, for obvious reasons. I always say to men, I'm slightly biased for obvious reasons. So of course I want to help, our male clients out there, but yes, I have a soft spot for females. I am not going to lie. And, our clients very much look like me. They're women out there, boss ladies, running their own companies, doing good in life, making a difference, making an impact in other people's lives. And not uncommon, not necessarily always, especially around finances, are they making the impact they want in their own life? Are they, Jody?
No, you're right, Jackie. I mean, I think you hit it on the head. We work with men, women, a spectrum of people, couples. But one of our missions is to help women empower themselves around their finances and gain confidence. So that's really one thing that we do. And we work with a number of high achieving professional women who are real go-getters in their career. So if we can support them when it comes to their financial planning, we're happy to do that.
Yeah, and I'd love to know. I mean, I've been doing this now for 25 years, but I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, what is that? We talk about it's about damn time, but it sometimes takes a while for people to get to that point where they're like, okay, it's time to actually make some change around their finances that they'd like to see. What do you think are some of the challenges that you uncover when you're speaking to people who finally say, okay, why did it take you so long and why now?
Yeah, I think there's a number of reasons why, Jackie. A lot of the women, in our network have been on our network for years. And, they all have different times of when they're going to pull the plug and actually take action. I think, one of the first thing would be is that they don't really know where to start. Like there's a little bit of an intimidation factor when it comes to their finances. They're very good at what they do when it comes to their career, but they're a little bit unsure or intimidated about where do you start with your finances?
And I think that's a huge reason I find for that procrastination, right? Is they don't know. And I think when you're talking about not knowing, there's so many things like tied up in people feeling like, what's the whole intimidation factor? What's it going to be like to sit down with someone like myself, right? Because, it's easy when you're a high achieving woman in particular, you've got lots of important reasons for doing other things, don't you?
Absolutely.
You can keep yourself busy. You can procrastinate. And, one of the things that actually scare me that I see are the business owners, the women who own businesses. And they, they're doing amazing things and their lives are exciting. And that's one of the reasons we love, because they're making an impact and we want to make an impact. So we're so aligned. But what I will, want them to deal with first, because they've been procrastinating, is their taxes. So it's not uncommon. We've seen our share of people who've come in through the practice, speaking of procrastinating their taxes. So they might have a great business or, making money, things are going well, and it might be 3 years that they have not filed their income taxes.
Yeah, that's right. And so many of the women that come into the network that we work with, like you said, have achieved so much in their careers. But they have so many competing priorities that it's easy to let their finances slip, for a number of different reasons. But yeah, just competing priorities is one. Right. And I think that, the second part is, a little bit of embarrassment, where they're not really confident on where they are in their financial situation, and where it looks good from the outside on a professional view, it looks like they're experts and very good. So there may be a little bit of embarrassment when it comes to not knowing their entire financial situation and what that looks like.
Yeah. And that whole embarrassment is made worse when people like myself, when we put ourselves out there as advisors and we put on airs and we're just not authentic. We're not our real selves with people, because I find that people are as real with you as you're real with them. So if they come in and they're feeling this vulnerable, because, we don't learn about finances in school, And then they sit down with our team, people like myself, to talk about their finances, and they already feel like they don't know where to start. They had to be really intentional about the time that we booked to talk about their finances. And they're embarrassed because they feel like, who knows, maybe I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And then we're like judging them, like they already feel like that's what's going to happen. So guess what happens when they get judged, right? Like it's like a huge sting. Nobody wants to experience that. It certainly doesn't help to make anyone feel confident if we're going, oh, this is your net worth. Ha, ha, ha. Like that's not the way you build relationships. That's not the way you build trust. Yeah. And ultimately what's going on is with somebody's finances, if you're really a professional, it's none of your business unless you're trying to help them.
No, that's right. And I think, it's such a personal topic, your people's finances, that often women will procrastinate because they're embarrassed. They feel like they're behind, but I think part of taking action, which is what we want to focus on tonight and always, is that, it starts with a conversation, and we've seen a whole spectrum of people's situations. Like right. There's nothing that you're bringing to the table that's going to surprise us now, right? No.
No. And I think that, if we dig even deeper into that embarrassment and feeling like they're not sure where they're supposed to be, live community, confidant community, we did a survey on LinkedIn, I think it was a year ago, asking women why they procrastinate around their finances. And one of the things that we found out was women procrastinate. Well, the number one reason they told us was because they felt like they would never catch up on getting, that sense of feeling behind. So the shame is deep, right? Because if they're thinking, not only are we going to go, that's what your net worth is, and you know what? It's terminal. Your financial circumstance, you might as well go home and cry. Like that's what people are worried that they're going to hear from someone like me. So to make them feel like they're going to walk into a process that's intimidating, where they're going to be judged, where they already feel like they're never going to catch up, and they're going to, like I said to you, Jody, earlier, we're just going to give them cat food on the way out. Like, here, you might need this later. Like that's not, see ya, don't want to be you. Like it's not helping anybody to feel good, to feel confident about their circumstances, or even to move forward. Like I think one of the things that we really love when we work with clients who, have these emotions when it comes to their finances, because, let's face it, we're in a field that has a lot of emotion attached to it. Yeah. So when we can actually give clients that possibility, because, I've always said to clients when I work with them, pretty much every situation has options. You just have to determine if you can live with the options that you have. And the reality is, to know what your options are earlier gives you more options. The later you find out what your options are, the fewer you have. So always better to rip that Band-Aid off, open up this, I think last month I talked about opening up the credit card statements to see where you're at so you can make a plan. Same thing when it comes to your overall financial circumstances. Rip the Band-Aid off, understand what your financial position is so you can make a plan, right?
That's right, Jackie. And I was talking to one of our clients who just signed on not too long ago, and she's 45-ish, 46-ish. And, one of her fears was that she was really far behind when it came to planning for retirement, getting in the investment game, and, reassuring her that you are not alone. We see many people in this situation. So if you don't, and I always ask the clients, like, what's the cost if you don't start now?
That's it.
So, how long can you afford to procrastinate?
That's it. And you've heard me make this analogy before, because my big fear, live community, I'm just putting it out there. It's just between you and I. So I know it's not going to go past here, but my big fear is, like, I have dental issues. I have my share. Jody's heard me whine and complain about it. And I often say to people, don't wait to go to the dentist or a financial planner when the pain is real. They might have to pull that tooth out, and I promise you, it's very painful. You're speaking to someone who's had their share of dental issues. So do not wait the cost of waiting is, don't wait until the pain is real, where, you know, you're behind on your credit card statements and it affects your credit, or you're, you know, in a scenario where, you know, right now some people are in where they have a home that, you know, the interest rates have gone up quite a few times, and they're worried if they're going to be able to keep living there. And potentially by the time they make that decision to, you know, look at their options, they might have fewer options. So it's all about knowing what your options are earlier than later. The earlier you look into what your options are, the more options that you have.
Yeah, that's right, Jackie. I totally
awesome. I'm really glad you told that story. I think the other thing I see, and I'd love for you to speak to this, is I think as well, I think clients who come into the practice who procrastinate also have this sense that working with a planner, it's going to be hard, don't they?
Of course. I mean, they just don't know where, you know, there's a couple of reasons behind that. They don't know where to start. You know, their situation may be messy. You know, and a lot of the times they don't know what they don't know. So when we're having our initial conversations and we're talking about, you know, the strategies, you know, just having that conversation with them and letting them see the potential of things that they're not optimizing or taking advantage of or leveraging, they realize that, you know, it's harder not to take action.
Yes.
And, you know, and though it's going to be a lot of work, and one of the things that we pride ourselves on is it being a collaborative effort. So people that come into the practice really have a good understanding of any recommendations the financial team is putting in place. And, you know, we're passionate about financial literacy. So though it may be hard, it's going to be harder to not take action. And
I think the hard part is, if I think that comes from a few places. One, around, you know, it being hard is us not being able to have a communication channel where it's free flowing. Yeah. So if you and I are talking about a financial issue and I don't understand, so I'm like, oh, you know, we're going to talk about, you know, this strategy, arbitrage, like we're going to do this to help build your wealth. You know, of course you understand all of this, right, Jody? We don't have to go into it. Is this good? Are we clear? Right? Right?
No.
And then you leave a scenario like that. And I've had these conversations with clients over the years when they've sought us out, when they've said, you know, I'm talking to my advisor about my investments, and I truly have no clue how I'm doing in terms of my portfolio. Any smarter, leaving them the whole process, which is one of the reasons why when my investment advisor calls, I just don't even want to reply, because I haven't looked at my statements because I don't understand them and I don't understand what they say when we get together. So what's the point, right? So it actually gives you this whole learned helplessness sense. So if you feel like something's going to be hard, it's not very motivating in terms of wanting to take action, is it?
No, and it paralyzes a lot of people, and they wait on it and sit on it. But what they need to know is that, you know, one of our missions, like I said, is financial literacy and empowering women to really understand all aspects of their financial situation. And, you know, just to take it a little bit further, Jackie, one of our, you know, clients, one of the things when we had done a recent survey, one of the things that they appreciate is our patience. You know, that was one of their feedbacks on the survey, was that what they appreciate is that even though they didn't understand it, we had the patience to tell them multiple times, so until they did understand. And I think that's really important, that women feel confident and comfortable when it comes to their financial situation.
Totally. And it makes them feel, if you're working with someone, you feel lonely or working with someone, then by yourself, that's your first hint. You're probably not in the right place. So it's, you know, I really appreciate that a client said that, because it's all about walking the walk with the person. And I often say to clients when we sit down is that I'm pretty repetitive. And it's intentional. So I tend to say the same things in different ways over time until people are like, yeah, I get it, right? Like, so we, you know, we'll have the same conversations, but it's about walking the walk with the person and really bringing things to a level that makes sense to them. Everybody thinks their situation's complicated, but the truth is you're smart. You're the smartest person about your finances. You're smarter than anybody else. You just want to make sure you understand it. So, we go through the whole process to make sure we're on the same page in terms of your understanding of your finances. And then people actually realize, oh, I actually get it, because they're talking about my circumstances. It's the planning process is specific to my circumstances. So now it's actually easier to get engaged around it. But let's actually get into that. Let's talk about, actually what happens to people when they go through our process, because I think this is a good time to talk about that process. So, okay, so let's say people, actually, before I even go there, I would love to find out, like you said that one client said, it was, they felt really good. One of the reasons they got started is they felt really good about how, the patience we offered them and the way we helped them just get through, understanding and just walking that journey with them. But what happens? Like, so let's say they decide, because I think it's so great to have you here today, Jody, because most people don't know who you are. They have no idea what's going to happen when they say yes to a strategy session. So I'm really glad that we can kind of talk them through that. So what actually happens when people say, I want to have a conversation with you? What's the next thing that happens after they say, okay, I'm booking a conversation with you? What happens when they finally sit down with you or Zoom with you, like what we're doing these days?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that's such an important step for people to take, Jackie. Like, let's just acknowledge that, is that when people finally take action and initiate the conversation and get on a call with me, and we say financial strategy session, and really it's about getting to know the client a little bit better, getting to know what their financial situations are, what their barriers may be, and walking them through that. So it's not necessarily like we're diving deep into the first, you don't need to come prepared with everything.
Financial statements.
Yeah, not for the initial conversation. And it's really for us to get a sense of, because it is personal, talking about your financial situation, we want to make sure that it's a fit both ways. So we want to make sure that you're comfortable with us and our team. What does the process look like? So in the initial conversation, we'll jump on and, it's a little bit getting to know them, what they do for work, what's their business look like? Is there anything that they can identify right off the top in terms of dangers around their financial situation? Are there any opportunities that they can identify that they're not necessarily taken advantage of? I want them to give as much as they, paint the picture for me as much as they feel comfortable.
Right. And even strengths, right? Like emphasizing what they are actually doing well in their finances. Because people, sometimes clients will say to me when we have that initial meeting after you've taken such great care of them, that they're like, I'm a really good saver. There are things that I'm already doing well, but because I have so many other things going on, it's kind of hard to double down on that, isn't it?
That's right. Strengths, of course. So yeah, like you said, they may be a really good saver, but maybe not leveraging other strategies that are going to help them reach their goals. So one of the things that we do talk about in the initial conversation are, what are your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year financial goals? What does that look like for you? When do you want to retire? What's your goals around your financial situation? And we really want our clients to dream big, like all the possibilities that are out there. Like they want to buy an investment property, whatever that looks like. It's a real opportunity to share, what your goals are. And then we talk about, how we can help get you there. And especially when it comes down to the financial planning process, what does it look like? So, once we've had the initial conversation and they like what we provide and how we can best support them, what does the process look like after that?
Yeah, I think the process piece is so crucial, because I think clients are wondering, okay, so I say, I love this idea of finding out my, dangers, opportunities, my strengths, finding out how, I can make progress from where I am financially in a year, 3 years, 5 years, diving a little bit deeper in what's been getting in the way of them doing that. And truthfully, even more important, because it's about damn time, why now? Like, I think why now is a really crucial question. So once people have answered that and thought it through and had a conversation with you, I think, helping them explain what comes next is all about that process, isn't it? Helping them understand how we're going to work through, with our team, getting them to the point that they can have these planning conversations. So what happens? What happens when they say yes, Jody? Like, they say yes to the process, or they say, yes, I want to work with Jackie's team. What happens after that?
That's right. So once they feel, and a lot of the times once we get to that point, and we're talking, a lot of the clients that I speak with initially feel a lot of relief, a sense of relief in terms of, okay, so what does the next steps look like? And they just feel really proud of themselves for getting to that point to have the initial conversation. So once they determine that, yes, Team Jackie Porter is the right fit for us, then I tell them, a little bit about what the process looks like. So initially, you will sign a contract and come on with one of the benefits of working with us, Jackie, is that we do charge a planning fee, which a lot of other planners don't charge. I think it's really important that people understand why it's a fee associated with our service.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, first of all, we do dive deeply into your planning, because otherwise we have no way of knowing if we're going to make recommendations that make sense for you if we don't have our facts straight. So getting your information, looking at it really closely, using our financial planning software, which, if for those of you who've been on my Ask Anything with Jen, you've met one of our planners to just get a sense of, how we think and what happens behind the scenes. Check out that video. If you haven't seen the behind the scenes with planning and you're, looking more closely at this process, I would highly recommend checking out one of our behind the scenes, the planning process. But for the purposes of this, I think what you are conveying to people is, I think clients seek us out mostly because they don't want to be at the end of a sales conversation when they do a quote unquote free financial plan. They want to know that if they do a financial plan with us, that they don't have to worry about that pressure of coming on, working with someone who's going to put all the effort in getting your plan together and just taking you appropriately through the steps. So they are relieved that they pay a fee and that they can get third-party information. They're not just getting product advice, they're getting planning advice. We're talking to their accountants to find out how we can optimize, because even if we're executing recommendations, and there's an accountant at the end of it or a lawyer at the end of it, they know that we're going to be able to guide them through those steps and work with their professionals to get things done. That goes a long way when you're building a financial plan, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think one of the things that our clients want to know too when they come in is, why am I choosing an independent certified financial planner as opposed to going with a bank?
Right.
And I've had that, that conversation with many people. They don't understand. And, that's where I chime in and let them know that when it comes to your finances, we hope it to be a long lasting relationship. You're hiring, essentially what we call a life team member.
And so Erin's actually on the live, on the live today. So hello, life team member Erin, we love you.
She's great. She's great. So yeah, we hire a life team member, and knowing that you're going to have one-on-one access to us always, rather than an advisor at a bank, maybe who may switch banks or can only sell products in that. That from that institution, whatever that looks like.
And actually, that's a really important point, because ever since 2020, the banks have changed their policies. So now they will not put you in front of other products. They put you in front of their own products, because they've mandated that, just based on banking rules that changed since 2020. So a lot of people don't know. That might mean, because we're advisors and we charge fees to do plans, the planning process is separate from the product process. So if you want to do actual recommendations, product recommendations with us, you're welcome to. We'll help you execute. We can give you third-party information about any of the recommendations, product recommendations we have. We're not bound to one company because we're a broker. We work with all of the companies. And I think that's something that, clients love, because they do get that third-party independent information. Why did we pick whatever recommendations we have? They have all the information. And I think that just gives them another sense of relief that when they work with an advisor who's an independent advisor, that they have access to those types of options.
That's right. Absolutely, Jackie. And then once they say yes, I let them know what the process looks like. So initially in the early stages of working with our financial planning team, you can expect, depending on the complexity of the plan, whether you're a salaried employee or an incorporated business, whatever the complexity looks like, you can expect, 3 to 4 meetings from the get-go with our one-on-one, 1 hour with our financial planning team to really go through like the different pillars of your financial plan.
Right.
And then from that point forward, you have access to the team, which I think is really important. So once clients go through the initial phase of building the plan with our team, they'll always have access to myself. They have access to, our financial planning team. If anything arises and they need questions, they're not being on hold, waiting for somebody to answer to find out about their investments. They have direct access, which I think reassures the clients a lot when it, gives them a little bit of peace of mind.
100%. And I think they love the fact that, we're always booking proactively, the next meetings once we finish the plan 6 months later. So we're doing reviews, and as their circumstances change, we can update their plan as well. So I think it's because, planning live community, confidant community is not a one and done. We're like, oh, we do the plan and now it's all done. People's lives change. I've had clients who they started with me single, then they got married, then they got divorced. Plans change. And the point of planning isn't to, figure everything out. It's to have a general direction that we're going in that we can adjust as the situation accounts for it. The situation calls for it. So really, really important. So, and I think the other piece that clients tell me, Jody, that they love about working with you when they get onboarded is they love the fact that, we're sending their really important confidential documents through a confidential financial portal, so they don't have to worry that they're passing on information to us that if anything were to be compromised, that that would get in the way of breaching their security. That's a question that clients ask me a lot, is just that confidentiality piece.
Confidentiality and security, which is, we have top-notch compliance that we follow. And like you said, we do have, for any sensitive documents, which any financial documents are sensitive, we take great pride in using, the portal, secure portal to upload the documents that both parties have access to. So the planning team, but then also the individual client, thanks, the client or the couple, whatever that looks like. So it's an interactive platform that they can be assured that is really secure.
And I think there's a little bit of work, as you said, it's not the process gets easier once you start, but I think that initial, when they say yes, they pay the fee, what happens next?
Yeah, and that takes it takes a little bit of the mystery out of it, because people don't know what to expect. So we go over all of that in our initial conversation. So when clients come and they're like, Jody, what does it even look like? And then I know when we go through that conversation and I spell that all out for them, what I find is that there's just a moment of relief. Like they're like, okay, that's what it looks like. That's the mystery to financial planning. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, that's it. Because the mystery is we will need your financial documents to get our facts straight. And we will need you to, provide us with your spending patterns so we can get a sense of what your cash flow is. So once, you share all that information through our planning portal, then you'll see us. You'll hear from our planning team, and we'll delve in a little bit more, because it's all about making sure we understand your circumstances as well as possible before we start making changes to it. So we're both on the same page by the time we sit down and have a conversation. That first meeting won't be the getting to know you meeting. It will be us getting through that process to make sure we're giving you pertinent information once we actually get into a meeting together. So I think that's something that clients tell me they really appreciate. No meeting meeting is wasted. We have the information ahead of time. We can start working on the plan and start, tweaking the plan as we go through the process.
That's right. Yeah, no, it's not, you just, the clients don't just hand over the documents. It's a very collaborative effort. They understand, why we're talking about this, what strategies that, we may put in place that we're not leveraging and why. We take great pride in making that personal connection, and that they understand anything that's going through the planning process.
Awesome. Couple more questions for you. One is, have the conversations changed since COVID? I mean, I was talking about earlier that, people have reflected over COVID. So maybe planning is looking a little bit different, or conversations, or why they're getting involved in the planning process. Any feedback around that?
Yeah, definitely. We've seen some trends, Jackie, with people coming into the practice. A lot of the times, we refer to it as the wealth transfer stage, where, you're at a life stage where maybe your parents have passed on, perhaps, and you're trying to figure out how to deal with the estate. Maybe they've left an inheritance and you're not sure what to do with it. We definitely have seen a few clients go through that stage over the last few years. So I think that would be one.
You've seen some divorces too, haven't you?
I was going to say, we've seen several,
unfortunately,
couples divorce, and just, through COVID, we've seen a lot of women trying to figure out how they can, women coming to us to see if they can afford to, be financially secure without their partner, which is a really brave step. But I think, knowing and knowledge is the best around that situation. So we have seen a lot of women come to us to figure out if they could be okay on their own.
Yeah, and I think the reflection is coming because a lot of people may have been caught during COVID and not being financially prepared. Maybe relationships broke down. So, now they're having to figure out finances on their own. And, I've been talking about this in these lives and that we've had over the last little while, that there's a great wealth transfer going on, Confidant community, which means, God forbid your parents pass away, a close family member passes away, and all of a sudden you've got assets that maybe you didn't plan on, or, which might be a good thing, but might be a bad thing, right? If you're not prepared for it, or you don't know how to handle it, or even you're trying to figure out how to manage your parents' financial circumstances, because all of a sudden their financial circumstances changed a little bit because one of them got ill. These are definitely some things, conversations I'm having with clients now, and just navigating through that, just because they want to walk that walk with someone, because it's stressful enough dealing with their regular lives and being successful women with families and businesses and what have you, right? So there are definitely some of these trends that we're definitely seeing in our practice. Now, what advice would you give, Jody, for clients or people who are listening right now to this live and they're not sure what to do? They're in their head. They haven't taken a step yet. Like, what would you say to them? What would you give them as advice for why they should, take action?
Take action. I think we go back to the song you chose with Lizzo. It's about damn time. I always say to the clients, once we have our initial conversation, and I experience the relief after that conversation for them. They're like, okay, and that's a really rewarding conversation to have. So I would say, start the conversation, reach out to us, share where you're at with your situation. And I'll be able to share how we can best assist you or direct you or support you, whether it's with us or, another advisor, whatever that looks like. But take action,
Exactly. I think that's a really crucial comment. So Confidant community, as Jody put it so aptly, we don't care. We'd love for you to work with us, obviously, but we want you to work with someone that you're comfortable with at the end of the day, because that's where you'll make the most progress. And taking action means, you don't gain confidence overnight. I was having this conversation with Jody earlier. You don't get strength if you're working small incremental steps, and then you all of a sudden see this sea change, this progress. Where in my life, I've been doing push-ups, so now I'm up to like 100. I'm really excited. I don't have abs yet, Jody. Don't get too excited. I don't have abs yet, but I'm just excited that I can do 100 push-ups. I don't do it all at once, live community, confidant community, but I can do it. And it just gets me excited to try to keep pushing myself to do more. I feel like that's that step you need to take in finance. You need to take these little small steps, making that phone call, deciding I'm going to learn a little bit more about finance this year, taking action so I can sleep better at night, feel better about myself. So much Lizzo's message, right? No shame, no blame, just wanting to make tomorrow better than today. I think that's a really great way to see your financial circumstances, take those small steps to make big progress over the long run. That's what we were putting out there for you, confidant community. Take that action today.
That's right.
So that's our live on, what does it mean to work with Jackie's team? What does it mean to have a strategy session with my friend, my girl over here, Jody Euloth? You might see her mentioned when I do the live. I wanted you to see her in person so you know who you're dealing with. And I wanted also, Jody, for you to talk about the feedback. When you've done those surveys, what are some of the comments that clients give you on what they've experienced when they've gone through the planning process?
Yeah, Jackie, I think, for me, it's been the most rewarding part of the work that we do is working with our clients and seeing them have clarity and success and confidence around their situation and being able to walk them through that. So to see that transformation is super rewarding. Some of the feedback when it comes to the clients, I mentioned earlier, is that they appreciate the patience. So they may not fully understand the finances or the terminology or anything like that. But that's why our financial planning team are the experts. That's why people come to us, because we can help, share that knowledge. So they like the patience. And then, a little bit more about what they like working with us. They like the access to our team. So we had mentioned that before, is that they know if they need some expert advice around their finances, if, like you said, something comes up unexpectedly and they need some expert advice, they have access to us, which is really important. So that was a big part of the feedback. And then I think, if I was going to share any other feedback from the survey that I think is valuable, is that they like our proactive approach. So you say that we're professional naggers. It's something that we do because, often we're asking clients who are very busy in their careers, we're asking them for documents or whatever that looks like. So they love our proactive nagging because it takes the remembering for them off their shoulders.
Yeah. It just makes them feel taken care of. And I think it's because at the end of the day, we're trying to help them live with the intention that they seek, right? So it's all about helping people. It's like everybody needs a coach. If you're trying to do something and you don't think you can do it on your own, the truth is you don't have to. So don't feel like you're alone in this. Find someone you can walk that financial journey with. Thank you again, Confidant community, for tuning into our live. If you enjoyed this, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, like it. Please join us next week for our last edition of our live for Women's Month, because we've been talking financial empowerment all month, and we'll have one more to share. I'm keeping it a secret. You're going to have to join me next week to find out. Thanks again, live community. See you next week. Bye now. Thanks again, Jody, for coming.